They always called me the Rock because I never said no and always showed up. The first time I put my own needs first, the silence around me revealed what I really meant to them. It started small. My mom would ask me to help with the groceries when I was a kid. Then it became watching my little sister when she needed a break. Then it turned into errands, yard work, fixing things around the house. At church, they knew I would volunteer before they even asked. At work, I was the guy who stayed late when no one else wanted to. And when my friends needed help moving, or a ride to the airport, or someone to vent to at 3 in the morning, guess who they called? It felt good. Being needed gave me a sense of purpose. Like I was doing something that mattered. Like I had a place in people's lives. Even in my relationships, I leaned into it hard. I was the one with the steady job, the calm voice, the plan. I picked up the tab when things were tight. I said yes when I wanted to say maybe. And when my ex-fiancée said she needed space to figure things out, I helped her pack. That was just the kind of man I was raised to be. Reliable, responsible, unselfish. But no one tells you what happens when being that man turns into being used. It sneaks up on you. One day someone thanks you. The next, they just expect it. The thank yous get quieter. The asks get louder. The margin for saying no gets thinner. Suddenly, you are not helping anymore. You are maintaining. Holding everyone else's life together while yours quietly erodes beneath you. It did not hit me all at once. Burnout never does. It comes like a slow leak. You tell yourself you are just tired, that it is just a busy week, that things will settle down. But they don't. They never do. I remember one Sunday last fall. I had just driven my cousin to the airport, helped my neighbor fix his garage door, picked up groceries for my mom, and answered 5 work emails even though it was my day off. I got home, collapsed on the couch, and stared at the ceiling in total silence. I was so drained, I did not even turn on the TV. That was the first time I asked myself the question I had avoided for years. What do I even get out of this? I did not have an answer. And right then, right there, I felt something shift. I was not angry. I was not hurt. I was just tired. Tired in a way that sleep could not fix. Tired of being everyone's solution except my own. But what happened next, I never saw coming. After that Sunday, I started noticing things I used to ignore. Like how no one ever really asked if I had time. They just assumed I did. My phone would light up with messages that read more like orders than requests. Hey, need you to stop by mom's tonight. Her TV's acting up again. Can you cover my shift Tuesday? I have a thing. I signed you up to help with the fundraiser. You're free, right? I used to smile and go along with it. Used to think it was flattering, even. That being the go-to guy meant people trusted me. But the truth is, it meant they depended on me in a way that never went both ways. I started testing it, in small ways. One night, my buddy Tyler asked if I could help him move a couch. My back was already wrecked from the week, and I had not eaten all day. So I texted back, sorry man. Can't tonight. He replied, seriously? That was it. No joke. No, all good. Next time. Just that one word, seriously? Another time, my sister needed help picking up her kids from school. I told her I had a work meeting and might not be able to make it. She sighed into the phone. You are all I have, Mike. That hit me like a punch, because I knew exactly what she meant. I was the fallback, the backup plan, the one person who would never say no, even if it cost me something, especially if it did. At work, I asked for a lighter load. My manager said, I know you are swamped, but you're just the most dependable guy we've got. At first, it sounded like praise. Then I realized what it really meant. I was the one they could keep piling on because I would never push back. I was not just helping anymore. I was being used. But what shook me the most, what really rattled something loose, was when my friend Lauren called me in tears one night. Her car had broken down, and she was stranded an hour out of town. Of course I said yes. Dropped everything, grabbed my keys, and drove into the night. She barely said thank you. A week later, I texted her to ask if she wanted to grab lunch. No reply. 2 days later, I followed up. Nothing. Then I saw her post on Instagram. Brunch with friends, smiling wide. That moment hit different. It was not just the silence. It was the realization that I only existed in her world when she needed rescuing. The rest of the time, I might as well have been invisible. I sat on my couch that night, phone in hand, staring at her post. And for the first time in my life, I felt it. Not just tired, but empty. I kept thinking maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was just in a bad mood. Maybe I had been keeping score without meaning to. That is what we are told, right? That real love, real friendship, means giving without expecting anything in return. But here is the thing nobody tells you. If you give and give without ever receiving, eventually you stop feeling like a person. You start feeling like a resource, like a battery people come back to when their own runs low. That next Friday, my boss popped into my office, last minute as always, asking if I could do him a solid and work the weekend. "We just need someone we can trust," he said. I looked at the stack of files on my desk. I thought about the plans I had made for myself, small ones, nothing fancy. Just a quiet morning hike, maybe a diner breakfast afterward. Something for me. I opened my mouth, ready to give the usual sure, no problem. But something stopped me. Instead, I said, "I can't." He blinked, caught off guard. "You can't." I shook my head. "No, I've got plans." He did not ask what kind, just stared at me like I had broken some kind of unspoken rule. The silence between us stretched too long. Then he muttered, "All right, I'll figure something out." And just like that, he walked off. No meltdown, no chaos, just confusion. That night, it happened again. My mom called around 6, said her car would not start, asked if I could come take a look. Now, normally, I would have jumped in my truck without thinking, but I was already sitting in the backyard, feet up, beer in hand, watching the sky go soft with evening. It had been a long week. I needed the quiet. I needed the stillness. I told her, "I'm sorry, Mom. I can't tonight." There was a pause. Then came the guilt trip, like I knew it would. "Well, I guess I'll figure it out. I just thought you'd want to help." I almost caved right then, but I held my ground. "I do want to help. Just not tonight." She said nothing for a few seconds. Then her voice turned cold. "You're not acting like yourself lately." That one stung, because deep down, I knew what she really meant. "You're not being useful to us lately." I ended the call and sat there in the dark for a long time. I kept expecting to feel guilty, but all I felt was peace, like something heavy had finally slipped off my back. But peace does not last forever. The fallout started the next morning. Saturday morning came quiet. For a moment, it felt like nothing had changed. Just another day. Birds out front, coffee brewing in the kitchen, the hum of the fridge filling the silence. Then the text started. First was from my sister. "Hey, Mom said you bailed on her last night. Everything okay?" Then my buddy Tyler. "Yo, heard you dipped on work this weekend. You sick or something?" By noon, there were 5 missed calls. 2 voicemails. One from my mom, clipped and cold. The other from my boss, trying to sound casual but clearly annoyed, just checking in. "Let me know when you're back to normal." Back to normal. That phrase stuck in my head all day. By evening, the group chat I was in with some old friends blew up. One of them made a joke about me going ghost lately. Said I had changed. Another jumped in, half joking. "We missed the old Mike. The reliable one." That one burned. They did not ask how I was. Did not check in about me. They just noticed the drop in service. Like a vending machine that suddenly stopped working and now everyone's annoyed they cannot get their usual fix. It was not rage I felt. Not even sadness. It was clarity. For years, I thought saying yes made me valuable. That my worth came from how available I was. That being the reliable one meant people loved me more. But what I was seeing now, they did not love me. They loved the function I served. The helper. The fixer. The yes man. Take that away, and suddenly they were squinting at me like I was broken. But I was not broken. I was just finally done playing the role they had all grown comfortable with. Later that night, my mom called again. I picked up this time, thinking maybe she had cooled off. She went straight into it. "You've been acting strange, Mike. Everyone's worried. Your sister said you snapped at her over nothing. What's going on with you?" I told her the truth. That I was tired. Not the kind sleep fixes, the other kind. That I was tired of being the glue for everyone else while no one noticed I was cracking underneath. She got quiet. Real quiet. And then she said, in the gentlest voice she could manage, "Well, if you didn't want to help, you could have just said so. No need to make us all feel bad." And there it was. Even when I spoke my truth, it circled back to their discomfort. Not once did she ask how long I had felt this way, or why, or what I needed. Just concern about the ripple I had caused by stepping back. That was the moment I stopped hoping they would understand. Sometimes people do not want to see you clearly. They just want you to keep fitting the shape they built for you. But I was outgrowing that shape. And whether they liked it or not, I was not stepping back in. The weirdest part was how small the shift felt on the outside. It was not like I burned any bridges. I did not scream at anyone. I did not storm out of rooms or post some dramatic message online. All I did was say no a few times. Chose rest instead of running. Picked silence over fixing. That was it. But the way people reacted? You would think I had committed some kind of betrayal. That Sunday, my sister dropped by unannounced. I opened the door and saw her standing there with this forced smile, like she was trying hard not to act upset. She stepped inside before I could even say anything. "You mad at us or something?" she asked, like it was a casual question. I told her no. I just needed some space. That word, space, set her off. She went from polite to offended in seconds. "You've always been the one we could count on. Now it feels like you're punishing us." I stood there, arms crossed, trying to stay calm. I said, "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just tired of being everyone's backup plan." She blinked, like she could not process that sentence. Then she said it. "But that's who you are." That right there. That hit deeper than anything. Because that is the trap, isn't it? You show up enough times, and people stop seeing it as kindness. It becomes your role, your job, your identity. And when you step away from it, even a little, they act like you are breaking a contract. A contract you never agreed to, but somehow still signed with every favor, every late night, every sure, "I got it," when no one else did. She left soon after, frustrated. Said she would give me some time to get over whatever this is. She did not get it. None of them did. I was not going through a phase. I was finally waking up. Later that night, I sat on the floor of my living room with a pen and a notebook, something I had not done in years. Not for work, not for anyone else, just for me. I wrote one line at the top of the page. What do I want when no one is asking me for anything? It took me 15 minutes to write the first answer. Not because I did not know it, but because I did not trust that it was allowed. I wanted rest, peace, a weekend where I was not anyone's emotional support hotline, a home that stayed quiet, a day where I did not feel guilty for doing nothing. That was all. Not revenge, not to make a point, just space to breathe without owing anyone an explanation. But I knew it was not going to be that easy. Because when you stop giving, even gently, even quietly, the people who were living off your yes start noticing fast. And some of them, they do not take it well. About a week after that, I got a text from my cousin Drew. "Hey man, can you help me move this weekend? Just a few hours. You're the only one I trust with this stuff." Classic Drew. Always last minute. Always phrased like a compliment. Before, I would not have thought twice. I would have cleared my Saturday, picked up coffee on the way, probably even brought extra straps in case he forgot to pack right. But this time, I stared at the message for a long while. My calendar was wide open. Technically, I could help, but I did not want to. I had plans. Not big ones. Just time I had carved out to finish a book I started 3 months ago. A solo hike I had been putting off. A full day with no obligations. It sounded small, but for once, it felt important. So I typed slowly. "Sorry man, can't this weekend. Hope the move goes smooth." He read it instantly. Left me on read. 2 hours later, I saw a post on his social feed. Him lifting a dresser with 2 of his buddies. Caption: "Shout out to the real ones who show up when it matters." No tag, no name. But it did not take a genius to read between the lines. That is when it really clicked. This whole time, I thought I was being appreciated, respected, needed. But what I was really being was used. And not even in some evil, villainous way. It was subtle, normalized, built into the fabric of how everyone interacted with me. And the second I stopped feeding that machine, the smiles shifted, the compliments dried up, the guilt trips started. Even my aunt called me out of nowhere the next day. "I heard you couldn't help, Drew. Everything all right, sweetheart?" I told her everything was fine. She paused, then said something that sounded sweet, but hit me like a brick. "You're just not acting like yourself lately." There it was again. I had built my whole identity around being available. And now that I was not, now that I was setting a single, basic boundary, they treated it like a red flag. Like I was off. But I was not off. I was healing. I started looking back through my messages, years of them, and saw the pattern plain as day. People checking in, not to ask how I was, but to ask for something. And the ones who did ask how I was, almost always followed it up with a favor. "Hope you're doing okay." Also, quick thing. I felt this pressure in my chest. Not anger, not sadness, just recognition that I had been training everyone around me for years. Teaching them that my time, my energy, my peace, they were all up for grabs. And now I was unteaching them. It was going to take time. And not everyone was going to like it. The shift was quiet, but it reached everyone. The invites slowed down. The calls trickled off. People I used to hear from weekly went silent. Not out of concern, not to check in, just nothing. At first, it stung. There were moments when I looked at my phone and felt that ache, like I was missing something. Like I had been kicked out of a group I never agreed to join in the first place. But then the silence started to feel like freedom. I had space, not just in my schedule, but in my head. My days no longer revolved around how to fit everyone else in. For the first time in years, I was waking up and asking myself one question. What do I want to do today? And the answers were simple. Take a walk. Cook a real meal. Sit in a coffee shop with no reason to rush. Things that never seemed urgent when I was always needed elsewhere. But of course, it could not last forever. The real test came on a Monday morning. I got a call from my boss. Said one of the newer guys had dropped the ball on a big project. Deadline was tight. He needed someone to step in. Just for a few days, he said. You've always been our guy. I took a breath and asked, will I be compensated for the extra time? There was a pause. He chuckled like it was a joke. Come on, Mike. You've always done this stuff. It's not about money. It's about being a team player. There it was. The contract. The one I had never signed, but somehow was expected to follow. Do more. Say less. Expect nothing. I told him I could help this once, but only if I was compensated fairly. He sighed. You've changed, man. I did not apologize. He gave in, reluctantly. Said he would run it up the chain. When I hung up, my hands were shaking. Not because I was scared, but because it felt like I had just broken a rule I did not even realize I was allowed to challenge. That night, I got a text from my sister again. This time, it was a simple line. Just wondering, do you even care about us anymore? That one gutted me. Because yes, I did care. I cared so deeply for so long that I forgot I was a person too. I cared until it emptied me. But they could not see that. To them, caring meant serving. And now that I was not doing that, they assumed love was gone. They did not understand that love without boundaries is not love. It is self-erasure. I did not reply that night. Instead, I sat outside, under the stars, and let myself feel everything. The grief, the relief, the loss, the calm, and something new, too, something I had not felt in years. Pride, not for what I had given, but for what I was finally taking back. By the time the weekend rolled around, I had learned to stop waiting for people to understand. They were not going to suddenly say, hey, we took advantage of you. That kind of honesty does not come from people who benefited from your silence. What I got instead were the smaller things. The jabs, the sarcasm, like when I skipped a family dinner. I had planned it for weeks, just a solo camping trip, something simple. No signal, no noise. When I got back and checked my phone, I had 7 messages in the family group chat. First one was from my mom. Hope the forest was more important than your niece's birthday. Another from my sister. Next time you want to disappear, at least tell someone. We were worried. And then my uncle chimed in with a voice note. His tone light, but the words carried a punch. You used to be such a good kid, Mike. What happened? That one stuck with me. Because I was a good kid. And I became a good man. A reliable one. The kind who remembered every birthday, showed up to every event, covered the checks when things got tight. But now that I had stepped back, without yelling, without blaming, just breathing, they were rewriting the story. Suddenly, I was the selfish one, the distant one, the one who had changed. And you know what? They were right. I had changed, but not in the way they meant. I was not colder. I was clearer. I started journaling again, something I had not done since college. Just a few minutes a night, processing thoughts I used to stuff down in the cracks of everyone else's emergencies. I wrote a line that stuck with me. If your love is only valuable when it costs you everything, you are not loved. You are useful. That line haunted me. Because deep down, I already knew it was true. People love the version of you that makes their life easier. The version that bends. That breaks. That always says yes. But when you become someone who asks for balance, not even more, just balance, you stop being convenient. And the minute you stop being convenient, you learn real fast who was in your corner and who was just camping there. The turning point came the next day. It was a message. Simple. From someone I did not expect. Lauren. The same friend I had helped late at night when her car broke down. The one who ghosted me right after. She wrote, Hey, I've been thinking about how I treated you. I'm sorry. You were always there, and I took that for granted. I hope you're okay. That was it. Not a long apology. Not a dramatic gesture, just honesty. And it hit me harder than all the guilt trips combined. Because finally, someone saw it. It was not a rescue. It was not a request. It was respect. And that was the moment I realized. I did not need to burn everything down. I just needed to stop setting myself on fire to keep other people warm. After Lauren's message, something shifted. Not in the world, just in me. I stopped waiting for some grand recognition. I let go of the idea that anyone who benefited from the old version of me would cheer for this new one. That kind of acceptance was never coming, and I was done chasing it. Instead, I started drawing lines, not in anger, not as punishment, but as boundaries. Quiet ones. I turned down a few more favors. Politely, clearly, without apology. And each time, the reactions told me everything. Tyler stopped texting altogether. My cousin Drew unfollowed me on socials like we were back in high school. My mom sent a long message about how this phase was hurting the people who loved me. But the truth? They did not love me. They loved what I did for them. It is a hard truth to sit with, knowing that your absence bothers people more than your exhaustion ever did. There was one moment, though small, but it stayed with me. It was a Tuesday. I had just gotten home from work. Threw my keys on the counter, kicked off my boots, sat on the floor with a beer. No noise, no pressure. And then I looked around. Nothing was asked of me. No favors. No calls. No urgent needs disguised as love. Just stillness. And for the first time in years, I felt safe in my own life. I did not feel guilty. I did not feel selfish. I felt human. The next day, I wrote something down in my journal. Maybe I am not the rock anymore. Maybe I am the river. And what I meant was this. Rocks are solid, sure. They hold things up. But rivers? Rivers move. They flow. They carve new paths. And most importantly, they keep going. I stopped being everyone's emergency response team. I stopped being the guy who carried other people's weight just so they would not have to feel it. And the world? It did not fall apart. They figured it out. Or they didn't. But either way, I stayed whole. That was the biggest surprise of all. They survived without me. And I thrived without them. The biggest lie I believed was that caring for others meant abandoning myself. I used to think love had to look like sacrifice. That being a good man meant being tired. That worth came from how much I could endure. But the truth is, I was never built to be everybody's solution. I was just too afraid to stop. Afraid they would leave. Afraid they would stop seeing me as useful, and then stop seeing me at all. But now I know something else. If someone only loves you when you are giving, they do not love you. They love the benefit of you. And that is not love. That is a transaction. It has been 5 months since I started saying no. Not loudly. Not rudely. Just clearly. And in that time, I have lost a few people. But I have gained something bigger. I got my peace back. I wake up slower now. Make coffee without checking my phone. I take walks with no destination. I call people just to talk, not to fix. I see a therapist every other Wednesday. That is something I never would have done before. Too proud. Too conditioned to think help was a one-way street. Turns out, it is not. I even ran into my mom last week. She hugged me, then stepped back with that old look, half concerned, half disapproving. She asked, "Are you happy, Mike?" And for once, I did not hesitate. I said, "Yeah, I really think I am." She did not know what to say, because that answer did not revolve around her, or the family, or obligations. Just me. I think that was the moment she realized this version of me, the calm one, the quiet one, the one who chooses instead of reacts, is not temporary. It is who I really am. And sure, I still show up sometimes. Still help when I want to. But now it comes from choice, not guilt. There is power in that. So if you are reading this and you feel like you are drowning in yes, let me tell you what I wish someone told me sooner. Saying no does not make you selfish. It makes you sovereign. And choosing yourself? That is not the end of who you were. It is the beginning of who you really are.